Hello everyone and welcome to our monthly webinar. My name is Justin Cooper and I'm a hard money lender and full-time real estate investor. Each month we bring in some of our friends in the industry to share their expertise. This may be through a presentation, like when we talk about self-directed IRAs or title insurance, or we may simply interview our expert friends and dive deep into how they got started, where their investing has taken them, and what they see coming, both for themselves and for the industry. Now, I want to say thank you to everyone who made it to tonight's event. We know that you've given up some of your special time, so Kevin and I will do everything we can to bring you the value that you're hoping for. Now, tonight's webinar is brought to you by Pine Financial Group. Pine Financial is Colorado and Minnesota's premier hard money lender. Pine focuses on the needs of Colorado and Minnesota real estate investors. We're investors ourselves, and we know what it takes to get deals closed. Everyone at Pine Financial Group is dedicated to the success of its clients. We only experience success when our clients are succeeding. So we have a habit of telling you when a deal should not be done. Isn't that what you want from a professional in the industry, especially someone that you trust as an advisor? You will benefit from our honesty and integrity when you choose to work with us. Now, tonight's webinar brings in a friend and investor, Kevin Ortner. Kevin is president and CEO of Renters Warehouse. He first joined the company back in 2009 when he opened the first Renters Warehouse franchise in Phoenix, Arizona. His franchise has been consistently awarded with best-in-class business and culture awards and reached a record 2,000 properties under management for a single franchise in 2016. After the 2015 retirement of Renters Warehouse founder Brenton Hayden, Kevin went on to take the reins of the entire company, helping see it through monumental growth nationwide and a majority share private equity investment. Kevin is a two-time honoree of the American Stevie Business Awards, Executive of the Year, and received an International Stevie Business Award for his achievements as CEO of Renters Warehouse. His leadership helped the company become a 7-time honoree of the prestigious Inc. 500-5000 list of fastest-growing private-held companies in America. Renters Warehouse now manages more than $3 billion in residential real estate, servicing over 13,000 investors, 19,000 homes in 42 markets in 25 states. Renters Warehouse is recognized as being both one of the fastest growing companies as well as one renowned for being an exceptional employer. In 2017, Renters Warehouse published its first book, Rent Estate Revolution. Kevin authored the book and shares the Renters Warehouse philosophy and business expertise around single-family rentals and the power of rent estate to drive a long-term wealth creation, retirement security, and financial freedom for the everyday person. Kevin, I told everybody just a little bit about you, or maybe a lot about you, but go ahead and tell us a little bit more about yourself before we dive into the interview tonight.
Well, holy cow! Thanks for quite the introduction you put together there for me.
Well,
thanks for having me. Thanks for having me on the webinar tonight. As you mentioned, President and CEO of Renters Warehouse. We're one of the nation's largest single-family home property managers in the residential space. We are now in 42 markets in 26 states and continue to expand. So we're pretty excited about that. And on top of that, I'm a client, customer of Pine Financial, and you guys have always treated me real well. In fact, I've got a couple of projects going on right now, so I flip some homes as well.
That's right, absolutely. So let's take a few minutes and back up a little bit. Tell us maybe not so much what's going on today, but tell us a little bit about how you got into real estate investing.
Yeah, I always had an interest in it. I was really a hobby real estate investor back coming out of getting into college, coming out of high school. In fact, I bought my first rental property when I was 18 years old and a freshman in college. Bought a duplex to live in one side and hopefully rent out the other side, and my goal was to live for free in college. So I convinced my dad to co-sign out a loan with me. We bought a property, and not only did I live for free, but I actually cash flowed a little bit of extra money every month. So I thought that was fantastic, and it really kind of turned me on to continue to do it more and more and more. After college, frankly, in a previous life, I'm a corporate pilot, so was not in the real estate industry, but that allowed me a lot of time to invest in real estate. I got in the mortgage industry for a brief moment, got my real estate license, did those kind of things. It ultimately led me to property management. So I've been doing this a long time, started as a hobby real estate investor, just like probably a lot of the people listening today and watching with us today, and ended up turning into a big business.
Awesome, awesome. So you started out, you bought your first property when you were in college. So by the time you graduated, did you still just have that one property, or did you start picking up a couple others while you were in college?
When I was in college, that was the only one I had. So when I graduated, I had one duplex, and then probably a year or two after that, I bought my second place, and then it quickly compounded after that. I think I have today my rental portfolio is 16 properties or so, 20 some units across a couple different states, Minnesota and Phoenix, where I've spent some time over the past decade or so.
Okay, great. So once you graduated from college, you got your corporate job, right? And then what, you just started saving for down payments? Did you do anything out of the ordinary to start picking up those properties?
No, not that I didn't learn the quick tips and tricks of how to use people like Time Financial to get into rentals for zero money down, frankly, until 2 years ago, for crying out loud. But so it was just saving for down payments, creative ways, properties that I had lived in and bought with FHA financing or low percentage down. I ended up moving out of after several years and turned that into rental property. I invest with my brother and my dad, and so a couple of the properties my brothers lived in, grown up through the years, we've also turned into rental properties. So a collective effort, and it seems to get easier and easier to pick up the properties once you have several of them cash flowing for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the more cash flowing properties you have, that means you have more income, right? Which means it's generally easier to qualify for loans. So that's great.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
And the fact that you've used partners to help you get to where you are is also, I think, pretty important. I think a lot of people, they try and focus on that quick, no money down, how can I get in? When really, if you just have a decent job, you save up your money, you can put your 20–25% down, or maybe have a partner come in and help split that. And then 50% of something is better than 100% of nothing. So
that's right.
Yeah,
that's
if that allows you to start scaling up, that's a great way to do it. Absolutely, and it doesn't happen overnight. So it takes some time, but yeah, it's a great way to supplement everything.
Yeah, and in the book, you mentioned the book. We just, in May 1st, we released our first book, or my first book, called The Rent Estate Revolution. And in that, we're really trying to teach people this philosophy. How do you get into owning long-term investments? Frankly, why should you get into owning long-term real estate investments in the first place? How to do it, and it's not a get-rich-quick scheme, right? We talk a lot about that, and a lot of the video content we're putting out there and things about the book. It's funny, I have to say, we're not playing a get-rich-quick scheme here. It's get-rich slow, right? But it's get-rich the right way. It's be smart about it. It's find your right team, build the partners, save for your first property. But after you have several of them and they're producing some cash flow, you can start to find pretty quick. You get the right team put together. You learn some creative financing options, leveraging Pine, for example, to do a rehab to rental type situation is big. I've recently done one of those, and it's probably the best deal I've ever done. And, so we talk a lot about that in the book and teach people how to build a portfolio for the long term and really create financial freedom, retirement security, those kind of things. So I'm a big proponent of, to your point, just, finding the right team, saving some of your money, and getting into it the right way.
Yeah, and you cover a ton of that in the book, and I think you do a great job. I had the chance to get a little sneak peek of the book, and I thought it was great. But you just mentioned something that I wanted to jump over to. I wanted you to tell us a little bit about what you thought maybe was your best deal, and you just mentioned one. I don't know if that's the one maybe you want to tell us about, if there's another deal, but tell us a little bit about what might be your best deal.
Sure. Well, fortunately, I've had a couple really good deals under my belt, in the past decade or so of really calling myself a real estate investor. But one of the best ones, no kidding, I wasn't paid to say this, actually, was the deal I did with you guys.
Well, that makes me happy to hear that. It's always it's great when you can hear that your clients did good deals.
Exactly. It was a rehab to long-term rental kind of deal. So I bought a property as a duplex about a year and a half ago or so, and rehabbed it. Both units, top and bottom, got it done, was able to refinance out of that property into a 30-year fixed conventional financing type deal with a local bank here in Minneapolis where I'm based. And I think I was able to get all but like $2,000 out of the property. So basically I'm into the property for $2,000. It's worth $150,000 today. Maybe $175 now. It was $150,000 at the time. I've got maybe $2,000 stuck in it, and it cash flows like $400 a month, right? So
that's awesome.
That's a great deal. I'm gonna hang on to that forever. Don't have a ton of capital into it. I was able to pull out our capital and put it into the next project, and that was a home run deal. And that was really what turned me on to working with you guys on not just buying rentals in a traditional fashion of saving that 20 or 25% down, whatever it takes, but finding the creative ways to get in. Now, they're harder deals to find, but if you can find them and you can make them work, they can be some of the best deals you do. So that's probably we'll call that for today my best deal so far.
Well, I appreciate that. That's it really puts a smile on my face hearing that you know, you having the success that you have, that maybe the best deal you've done was something that we helped you get into. So that really is great. So if anybody's interested in hearing more about that, go to pinefinancialgroup.com, go to our events page. We host classes all the time with Renters Warehouse, you know, in Minnesota. That goes into that. We teach, basically it's a 2-hour class of how to buy properties with hard money, fix them up, and then refinance them into your 30-year conventional loan. So it's a really detailed class. We also have a special report. So if anyone's interested in it, it's like a 9-10 page report. We go into case studies, really work through the details, and it can be a great point of reference. You know, if you don't have a property right now, but you're interested in doing it, just email me, Justin at Pine Financial Group. I'm happy to, pinefinancialgroup.com. And I'm happy to email that over to you. It's a great little resource there and really walks you through the whole process of buying rentals with little to no money down. So sorry for the little plug there, I guess, but just kind of feeding off what you were saying there. Well, awesome. Yeah. So let's jump to the other side of the equation here. Let's go from your best deal to your worst deal.
Oh, so worst deal. I don't like to talk about that one, but this is more recent deal. And in fact, it was a deal that I did not do with Pine Financial. So maybe that's part of the process here is the good deal done with Pine. We were going to do it, and to be honest with you, fortunately I didn't. I paid cash for this property. It was a deal you guys would have underwritten and did, but I don't remember why. But for some reason, I bought this property in cash. It was in a new area of town that I hadn't really done a property before, and we redid it real nice. We didn't really go over budget a lot. There weren't problems with the house itself. But the dang thing just wouldn't sell. And it probably took us 13, 14 months to sell the property. We got stuck in it. And, you know, the reason it was the worst deal and it didn't sell is I didn't know the area. I bought a place that I didn't know enough about when it came to rehabs. I have a lot of rental properties in that area. I manage hundreds of properties in that area with Renters Warehouse. But when it comes to flipping, I didn't know enough about it. It turns out I bought a property too small. Okay? I learned that later. And the folks that were buying in that area was a lower income area. It was a property that we were going to sell for, we were hoping about $120,000, $119,000. We ended up selling it for under $100,000, and God, maybe under $90,000. I don't know. I've erased it from my memory, but and I was talking to other rehabbers, other flippers in the area. I said, "You guys, you know, what's the deal? I heard this area is pretty good, things like that." And, turns out I bought a house too small. My house was about 910 square feet. They said, "Yeah, in order to sell a house here in this area, you got to be over 1,100." Well, I wish I would have known that in the first place, right? But so that was kind of a clear lesson from that one. Was really trying to dive in and do a little more due diligence. I think, you know, I've been doing this for 10 years. At minimum, I mean, really into it full time for 10 years. I've been investing in properties for 18 years, whatever it is. And yeah, thought it was a pretty easy deal, good deal. The numbers worked. It's going to be great. My saving grace was I paid cash for it, so I wasn't paying a ton of interest over that year, but we still ended up backwards on the property.
Right, and the opportunity cost of having so much cash in one property, yeah.
That was the issue. I was frustrated. I think you and I had chatted over that time. There was a couple deals I had to pass up because I had a ton of money stuck in this property.
Right.
So there's a lot of opportunity costs. Fortunately, not a lot of actual financial costs. Only lost maybe $10,000 in the property or something like that. But it prevented me from buying other properties because I didn't use some financing, and it was a bitch. So I'm glad we're done with it.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, sometimes it's just what you got to take a couple knocks, to learn what you don't know. I mean, it doesn't matter how much experience you have. It's sometimes you get into a loser before you find out some other stuff. So, and 10,000 isn't a horrible loss, but for some people it can be. So, I mean, it's just another one of those points, right? I mean, whether it be working with, be it a lender, just to have a second or third set of eyes, double checking your numbers in the neighborhood and those types of things, or not investing outside of your comfort zone, whether it just be a different neighborhood in the town that you have lived in for so many years, or a lot of people, I hear a lot of people going out of state, especially here in Colorado. It's so hard to find a good deal in Colorado, so people want to go out of state. So as now, you're not even just in a neighborhood you don't know, it's an entire different state. And when those mistakes happen, those oopses occur, right now you got to pay for an airline ticket, right? And maybe a hotel room to help figure these things out. So yeah, I think doing those diligences on the neighborhoods, on the towns is super important. And sometimes, you don't know until you get into it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, you know, sometimes the best education comes from the University of Hard Knocks, right? And
Exactly.
never going to win in all these deals we do. Never plan to. So you got to take your lumps, move on, and go on to the next property. And fortunately, that month was a good month for me. I sold 2 properties we had. One we made money on, one we lost money on. We came out ahead, a net between the 2, and rolled into a couple more projects we're doing with you guys. So it was fine, but that's certainly the one that sticks in my brain as the worst deal. But I think an interesting point you just brought up about people moving out of state to invest or to do these rehabs, it becomes that much more critical to build the right team and find the right team. I mean, now you're not inside your city or neighborhood you're used to investing in. One, you got to learn in your area, but 2, you need to find new vendors, new realtors, and to vet those people and understand what's going on. That's hard, right? I've opened up 44, 42 offices or whatever we're at now across the country, and we need maintenance staff in every one of those cities. And going through and finding the ones that are good are tough. And so that's real tough to build an infrastructure from top to bottom or bottom up when you're going into a new market. And that's where people can lean on hopefully the knowledge of someone like Renters Warehouse or Pine Financial to have that team built in a market where they're trying to go into in advance.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's so critical. When you're going out of state, you don't know, the little niche neighborhoods, right? You may think, okay, well, looking on a map, it's all within the area, so I'm safe. But really, you cross one little road or you're on the other side, there could potentially literally be the wrong side of the tracks, right? I mean, sometimes it's just kind of hard to tell, but, working and having, or maybe even just having relationships with the right folks, like Renters Warehouse, who's in 25, 26 different states, that opens up. Hey, let me pick your brain real quick. Hey, can I take you out to a coffee and just see and get to know folks and not trying to do it all on your own. I see that people try to do it all on their own, maybe trying to save a couple bucks, and it definitely bites them in the butt sometimes.
Yeah, it certainly can. That's for sure.
So it kind of is a great way to transfer, I think, to the next question I had, specifically around partnerships. So in the book, you talk about when you met Brenton Hayden, right, the founder of Renters Warehouse. And in the book, you mentioned that after a quick 45-minute meeting, you knew that joining Renters Warehouse was a thing for you. Now, of course, there was a certain time in your life and some other things going on that made you more open to this, I think. But real estate investors, the folks we talk to all the time, are always interested in partnerships or open to partnerships or needing partnerships. So what was it about that first meeting in that 45-minute appointment you guys had that said, hey, this is the guy, this is who I want to partner with and start going in this direction with? What kind of transpired? What were the things you picked up on from him?
Yeah, I joke a lot about that story of how I stumbled into Renters Warehouse and, went to business with someone 45 minutes after I met him, and I frankly would not recommend it for anyone to do that. It worked out great for me. We're still great friends to this day. He's still a partner in the business, although retired. And it was fantastic, but it just it seems ill-advised, right, to jump right in there. But it was, for me, we had a common vision. We had a common philosophy around how we wanted to really change the residential property management space, the opportunities we saw for technology enhancement, national platform, building scale. We had a lot of our common vision for what we wanted to do with the business in common. And he was just getting started and looking to really grow fast. And I think we just kind of clicked in that way and went forward from there. So I can't pinpoint one specific thing, probably a little bit of luck, a little bit of divine providence, so to speak, made that happen. But, I think to your greater point of just partnerships in general, I think it's so important to have the right people as partners. But I also think partnerships are important and can be very useful, especially in this type of business where so many of the folks you're working with and folks I'm working with don't do this full time. It's not their profession. They've got a 9-to-5 or a 9-to-9 for a lot of people these days, and are doing this on the side, and being able to share that burden with someone else who's like-minded, whether it's a financial burden, a time burden, a resource burden, I think is big. Plus, it's just, it's more fun when you have someone to do it with, I think, and you can kick around the ideas and go to the property and do some things yourself, or just stay motivated, right? Or do a deal, right? I run into so many people, and I'm sure you do too, where they're like, what do I do to get started? I'm like, just get started, right? That's how you get started. Just do it. And I run into a lot of people over and over again at some of the same talks we give or networking events, and it's always like, hey, I haven't done a deal yet, but I'm thinking about, like, what do I do? And you just got to take the plunge. And I think teaming up with someone, partnering up with someone for the purpose of taking that plunge is you're more committed, right? So from all the way from being committed to just having a little bit more fun to having to be able to share that burden with someone is good. So I think partnerships in general in this space are good. People should look at getting into this with a partner. I flip homes and rehab homes with a partner because I don't have time to be involved in the projects. I'm really more of a financial partner, and I go and look at and love to enjoy and see the progress that's being done, but I'm very hands-off with everything else. And so that works well for us. But, so that's big, but you got to be cautious who you go to business with too, right? Make sure that it is a like-minded individual that has the same philosophy as you, that if you're very aggressive and you're going into a partnership or business with someone who's not, that's going to create a problem, right? Or if you're very cautious about how you're going to look at the properties and you're very limited on the amount of risk you want to take, and you're in the business with someone who's willing to take a lot of risk, it's not a good match. So, be cautious about it, but also I think it's something people should really be open to. And to your earlier point in the webinar, in the conversation about having 50% of something is better than having 100% of nothing. Or I like to say having, 50% of a watermelon is way better than having 100% of a grape, right? And so there's ways to do more deals or larger deals by bringing in partnerships. So it's not about, you don't have to make less money, but you can probably end up doing more. The power of a team is much better than the power of an individual. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with all those points. And so I think something that was really important that you kind of hinted at there was find a partner that can share that vision. I think that's super important that you're all driving in the same direction, but that you have complementary skill sets, right? So what you were saying, you are more the financial partner, where your other partner is more of the construction person, right? So you have complementary skill sets. So when you approach a deal, if you both have bad credit and you both are broke, and you both have time to hustle and find a deal, right? I mean, that's great. You can go find deals, but then what do you do when you find them, right? So having, potentially, because I hear about this a lot, I've got the time, but I can't do the deal myself. Find the person who can complement you, right? Who has that different skill set, who brings something different to the table. That is the making for a good partnership, because I've seen partnerships go bad. So you really want to make sure you spell it all out, not just, okay, we both really want to invest in real estate and I'm the money guy and he's the construction guy or whatever it is. And you got to understand, get the right paperwork done, right? I mean, sit down, spend some time, because when times are great and everybody's happy, right? And a handshake deal works. When times aren't great and you get into a loser type deal like you had just gone through, where does that loss come from, right? Who's making those extra payments? If you do go over budget, where does that money come from? So spelling all those things out can be super important. I saw a partnership went south, and then the two partners never even spoke to each other. So they had a real estate agent, they're dumping their property, everything went through the real estate agent, but because they had spelled out everything in their operating agreement, they knew that, okay, you're responsible for this, I'm responsible for that, and they were able to get it done and get out of the property without going to court or anything worse. So yeah, partnerships, they can be great, but there's always a chance that they go south. So just make sure you're covered, and it's always an easier conversation when everybody's happy making money.
Absolutely, yes.
So you are the
solves all problems.
Exactly. So you are the CEO of Renters Warehouse, right? You started your own franchise. So a lot of our listeners here are also CEOs of their own business, right? So obviously I imagine things have changed as you've scaled up to the level you're at. So tell us a little bit, just like a quick overview of what you do as the CEO right now.
We're becoming a pretty large business. I have private equity investors. We're private equity backed. We're doing tens of millions of dollars in revenue a year. Got 300 and some employees across the country, operating in 26 states. So it's become really, I don't even feel like I'm in real estate anymore. I don't feel like I'm in property management. It's just running the business. It's dealing with investors. It's setting strategic plans and strategic vision, and hiring and leading a great team. My biggest and number one responsibility today really is recruiting a great team of people, from those directly that report to me all the way down to our realtors and leasing agents and office managers, and then retaining that team, right? And so to me, a lot of what I do is recruiting, building the right team, understanding who we need and where they need to be, but also retention. So ensuring that we've got great culture continuing at the business, that people are happy, that they have career advancement opportunities, and that the business is doing well. So for me, it's a lot of people, it's a lot of process, vision, implementation of a strategic plan of where we're going to take the business and how we're going to continue to expand and grow. And that's obviously very different from what it was when we started the business and we had 0 properties under management, or when I joined Brenton in our corporate office and we had 150 properties under management. We have 20,000 today across the country nearly. So it's a big role. It was very much early days. A decade ago was very much in the weeds, as they like to say, and doing all the jobs, collecting rent, coordinating maintenance and repairs, doing accounting. I was leasing homes and just doing what everyone does when they start a business, to do it all. And you slowly start taking up hats and you start delegating things that maybe you're not great at, that you can find someone else to be able to do, and continue to elevate yourself into the higher level. And that's the only way you can grow a business. You have to let go of the vine a bit to be able to grow the business from just being you to growing that team and trusting others to be able to take that on. And at this point in the game for me, I have a lot of other people running the business in the day-to-day, and I'm very much ensuring that our investors are happy and we have the money to continue our growth plans and our strategy of execution across the country, and that we're continuing to build a better and better process to manage properties, make it more efficient, have the right offerings out there for our clients. And frankly, a lot of that comes through technology. So that's probably the third piece of what I do, is spend a lot of time developing, innovating technology, making sure we have the right technology partners and players in the space to deliver, a great value to our clients as they're coming in the door.
That's great, and that was really the where I wanted that question to go. So I appreciate you doing that. So I wanted to know kind of what you're doing today, but then back it up to when you guys were starting and what the differences are, and then how you scaled up, which you definitely talked about, right? Finding what you're maybe not the best at, and start delegating those things, because so many of the people, start out and they are their CEO of their own business, but they're also the janitor, of their own business, and so you wear those multiple hats. And you just got to make sure that if you are able to grow and scale, or you want to, understanding what those different hats are that you're going to wear, right? When do I need to put on the CEO hat and have that strategic planning, right? And the relationship building side. And then when do I put on the COO hat, right? And I start getting into the weeds. And then when do I just, maybe put on the janitor hat and I have to go clean the bathroom or clean a bathroom, right? Maybe one of my tenants' bathrooms or whatever it is, So I think it's really important. And I like how you touched on how you started scaling, right? You just took a step back and what does the CEO need to do? And then what am I doing? And then what can I take off my plate? And then do I go out and hire someone for that? Or how do I delegate that and continue to grow until, you're at the point where you are, where you are just purely in the CEO role day in and day out, and you have other people doing that.
Yeah, I think, it's important for people to understand it's partly, what are you not good at? What can you admit that, hey, I'm probably not the best bookkeeper, right? So I'm going to get, like one of my first roles, I'm going to get a bookkeeper, or I'm not the best, maintenance guy, right? So I'm going to actually bring in a maintenance partner, a maintenance employee, whatever it might be, depending on the business, right? There's a lot of different roles, but being able to acknowledge your weaknesses, what that is, but also I think sometimes a mistake I see as people are growing their business, especially their real estate empires, and they're growing their portfolios, is they're too quick to give away that sales piece, right? The sales and the biz dev part of finding the next deal, or if they're in a business, a service business, out selling the product, you are your best salesman, right? You developed your business, you developed your service, you're out there building your portfolio. You need to stay involved with that, right? Without sales, without deals, you have no business. And so I think sometimes people are too quick to do it. I'm going to get a guy in here that's going to help me find deals. It's going to help me sell my service or product, and do that. And frankly, you're the best salesman. So take that. That's something you should hold on to for a long time before you really let that go. And frankly, you should never let it go, because it really comes down to sales and marketing are so much of what business really is. Without sales and marketing, or without sales, nothing else really matters. And so making sure that that's while I recommend people delegate things out, elevate their position, really hold tight to that sales process and that deal finding process in our world, right? To make sure that you're out finding the best deals and selling as much as you can, because ultimately, like I said twice, you're the best once that role as you're growing your business.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that doesn't mean you can't hire somebody. You can't work with real estate agents, right? Have them bring the deals, and you're kind of the last stop, thus the last set of eyes,
Right.
right? Work with wholesalers, have them do some of the legwork, right, or whatever that may
Yep.
be. You're the one making those decisions. Outsourcing those decisions, too early at least, could definitely be the downfall, right? If you start trusting too many people with the wrong things, you're not double checking things. Next thing you know, you're buying a bunch of bad deals.
Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah, perfectly said. It's not to say you can't have people helping you or outsource some of that or have an employee that helps you, but you have to stay involved and engaged with that part of the business because it's so important.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, what's one thing that really excites you about your business today?
Man, I think what doesn't excite me about my business, right? We have such an awesome opportunity. I think not just renter's warehouse and property management, but this whole single-family residential space, right? The whole industry is it's still very young. We're just frankly becoming looked at as a legitimate asset class in the SFR world, especially when it comes to residential rentals. And it's very fragmented. There's a ton of opportunity. So I just think there's a lot of great things happening, right? We saw Wall Street come in with Blackstone, Invitation Homes, Colony American, all those guys bought tens of thousands of homes and turned this into an institutional product. And I think a lot of people were frustrated by that when that first started happening. Like, great, big Wall Streets in our little niche mom and pop market. And it created challenges because they were scooping up deals left and right, and it was hard for others to maybe go in and get some of those properties they're buying. But that's kind of over, and now that they're here, it's brought a lot of positive light and positive attention, I think, into something that was really looked at as the kind of redhead stepchild of real estate, right? There's commercial, there's multifamily, there's industrial, all this other stuff, but who wants to deal with a bunch of scattered sites, single-family management, or small flip deals, all that kind of stuff? And it's brought in, I think, new financial products. It's brought in, so far the regulation hasn't followed. I think it will soon. That'll be the downfall of that. But it's brought in a lot of, interesting products, technology, innovation, et cetera. So I think there's, in the industry in general, there's so much happening. This is an exciting industry to be a part of. In my business, in my part of the industry, specifically property management, there's just so much opportunity. We manage 20,000 homes today. We have a business plan to drive ourselves to manage 250,000 homes inside the next 5 years. And while that seems like a tall order, to go from 20,000 to 250,000, there's almost 22 million, there's 21.7 million single-family homes spread across the country. So we could go from where we are, 10x our business, and we still have like less than 1% market share. That's how big this market is, and there's no big player. So for us, as a business leader, for us as a business, that's just huge opportunity. But we want to do it smart. We want to be able to do it where, we're not Walmart, where people don't feel their service or their quality. There's all these other things that come about. We want to continue to be a fantastic brand that has fantastic service and feels small, but have the resources available for our clients that come with having a business that's large, right? For example, a lot of the technology we're investing in today, when we were small, when we were a mom and pop property manager, or a lot of the other mom and pops that are out there, we couldn't have afforded to build this technology. We couldn't have afforded to have the data we're going to have to be able to share with our investors and our clients and the economies of scale that come with that kind of thing. So there's a lot of positive things for our clients as we continue to scale our business if we do it smart. And we see huge opportunity in that. And so that's probably the first one. I have one more to share with you, but you might have questions on that piece, I suppose, so we can kind of pause there.
Okay.
I get excited, and I can talk about this for a long time.
No, that's great. I mean, that's
opportunity in space is so big.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point. I mean, somebody might hear you say that, oh, Renters Warehouse wants to have 250,000 and all this other stuff, but you're just a property manager, right? Somebody still has to own those properties that you're managing, right? Renters Warehouse does not own properties. So, I mean, what you're saying is the scalability of what Renters Warehouse wants to do is then, and the tech and everything you're doing, this opportunity isn't, scalable and transferable to, the single family investor and owner. Whether it's one property or 100 properties or 1,000 properties, right? You have the ability to help them manage and maximize that investment. So, yeah, I think it's an awesome opportunity both for you as the property manager, but then also for us as investors.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like being part of a buyer's club, right? Whether it's Sam's Club or Costco or anything like that, it's your group of people, or outsourced health products and health insurance plans and co-ops and all that kind of stuff. You're using the buying power of, instead of the individual, of a group of people to be able to do things. And being able to be a mom and pop investor, a small investor, someone starting out that has one property or two properties that they're going to rent for long term, but being able to pool that with the resources of tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of other investors and properties to be able to get the best maintenance pricing, to be able to get the best technology innovations coming down the pike. I mean, it's huge, right? And so we think we can continue to make operating these homes more efficient over the long run, increase people's yields and returns on their properties, and hopefully continue to do a better and better job managing properties. So we're really excited for that. The second piece I'm really excited for is I think we can continue to leverage technology in a big, big way to make buying single-family rental properties anywhere across the country easy, right? And it's starting to come out. There's a lot of aggregators out, not a lot, there's a few aggregators out there that are starting to take properties with tenants in place, right, and list them for sale. There's hundreds of thousands of properties across the country today with tenants in place, tenanted assets that you could buy, and day one you're cash flowing because you have a tenant in place. You don't have to rehab anything. There's no maintenance. You don't have to have vacancy times or leasing fees. Tenant in place, ready to go. So we're trying to build technology to aggregate those, connect them with the right financing partners, long-term financing in place, and put them right into the operations that we have across the country with Renters Warehouse. What that's going to allow people to do is folks living in New York or even in Denver right now, it's probably hard to find great rentals that are going to cash flow the right way. You guys have fantastic sky-high real estate prices right now, and so it might be smarter for people to spend their money if they're going to buy something for the long term in the Rust Belt, in Kansas City, St. Louis, Texas, a lot of different markets where there's high returns, and that was not possible a couple of years ago because, one, you couldn't find properties unless you flew out there, got a realtor, drove around, found it. So it was possible, but it was time-consuming and tough. Now you can do it all through photos and videos online. You can find the assets, find the returns, find the lending partner. What was missing was the operational aspect. And so as we're trying to build our national operation platform for this property management, be able to plug these in, and you can own properties in Denver, Minneapolis, but add to your portfolio in some of these other cities where you might get higher returns, and do it all online from the comfort of your own home. Think of it as an E-Trade for real estate, right? That's where I think we can take this industry. That's where I think we can take this business, and that's some of the next steps for us here at Renters Warehouse, is to help not just manage people's properties, go from transactional to very advisory services, and say, instead of just managing your home, let's help you manage your portfolio. Let's help you grow your portfolio by connecting with the right partners, connecting with the right homes, giving you data and reporting and research on certain areas of the market, and help you build that portfolio over time. So that's, kind of the further off vision of where we're really trying to take our business, and I think, that's going to be very exciting when we get that all worked out.
Yeah, no, that sounds really exciting. What's your time frame for that?
We're kind of doing our beta version of this soon. Like this year, we're going to release what's called our Rent Estate Club, and that's going to have access to some of these homes and properties that are for sale across the country, some financing deals and partners of ours that will be giving us some great financing terms on these properties, and then streamline it right into operations. So we kind of look at it as you got to find the property, finance the property, and operate it. I'm disappointed there's no F word for operations, because that'd be find, finance, and something else, but forget about it, right? And put it right in the operation. So we're kind of doing an early test of this by building out. It's going to be a bit more of a manual process for us on the back end, to see what kind of interest there is and see what kind of traction we get before I commit a couple $1 million to develop the platform on the technology side.
Right.
But this fall, late summer, early fall, you're going to see the launch of a Rent Estate Club. So people who follow us or who want to stay in the know, they can sign up with us at renterswarehouse.com. They'll see that come through, and we hope the early stages of that are yet this year, and ultimately getting to the point where I think we can take it. I think we can get to a really cool technology tool. Buying homes as easy as you are buying stocks. Sometime in the next 5 years. Interesting.
That's super exciting. Yeah, I want to keep watching you guys grow. That's awesome. Because I think right now you see a lot of people, they talk about turnkey rentals where they kind of do that. So there'll be an investor who takes on the project, finds a deal, fixes it up, and maybe they have some resources for the financing or for the property management, but it's usually local folks there, right? They don't have the scalability of working with a Renters Warehouse or something like that. So, and I think that may be something that you're talking about with the aggregators or something like that. There are small operators out there doing that stuff. Maybe they're doing 5, 10 a year, in those Rust Belt type towns or something like that.
Yeah.
You don't have somebody necessarily with the scalability of Renters Warehouse. I mean, there might be one player out there I know of, maybe two, but nobody, that would be looking nationally, I think, like you guys probably would. So that's super exciting to see that coming. But you keep mentioning the name Rent Estate. And so I
Yeah,
want to make sure that's clear. It's not Real Estate Club, it's Rent Estate
right.
Club, which I
Right.
think now might transition us nicely over to your book. So what is the name of the book?
So the book is The Rent Estate Revolution, and it's really about today's, the how to kind of harness the power of rent estate or long-term real estate to achieve financial freedom and what I like to call the new American dream, right? So part of the reason I wrote this book is obviously a plug for me and my business, frankly, right? But it's not about so much as it is. I really have a big why behind this, which if you look at America today and Americans today, there's a vast majority, 60% or more of all Americans are woefully unprepared for retirement, right? And they don't have the savings they need. Many don't have any savings at all. They have no plan. When pensions went away in the 1980s, 401ks and Roth IRAs and all the things were supposed to replace that. And it hasn't really worked. Social Security for my generation and younger is certainly probably not going to be around, or we shouldn't be counting on it. So what do we do, right? I think this is a huge problem for the country. And so it's not just about real estate for me. It's about fixing America's retirement system. And I think if people get into this type of asset early on, it doesn't have to be early. You can be 40, be 50. It's going to help. But certainly the up-and-coming generations start investing in real estate early. It can be game-changing. I mean, imagine if you bought a home when you were 25, your first house, instead of buying a single-family home in the right neighborhood that you want to live and you want to be there forever, buy a duplex. Do what I did. Buy a duplex, live on one side, rent the other side. A couple of things happen. Your mortgage payment's significantly reduced, if not covered for you, so you can save more money for either retirement or for your next property. And two, you've now started the timer on your 30-year mortgage to be paid off 30 years down the road. So you bought that when you're 25 years old. When you're 55, you'll have your first property completely paid off. You're probably, hopefully, likely not living in that anymore. You've got two sides rented out. You've got great cash flow. And guess what? Fast forward 30 years, the rent rate on those units has increased dramatically, likely with inflation and everything else that happens around that. And so now you have an annuity. You have a check that's going to come in every month that's pretty much guaranteed money, so long as you can keep the property occupied and do your routine and preventative maintenance, et cetera. But for lack of a better term, it's an annuity with an underlying asset value. So not only do you have an annuity, but you can actually get money out if you need to. You can do a reverse mortgage. You can sell it. You can refinance it. You can do all these different things. And so you have a medical issue, sell a house, right? You need to send a kid to college, sell a house. So many different opportunities with this type of asset. So don't buy one, buy a bunch, buy 5, buy 10, but at least buy one, because I think it just helps people provide more financial stability in their future. So that's why I wrote the book. That's what we talk about. We talk about how to find properties, how to finance properties, and frankly, we're pulling back the curtain. We're giving away the farm, and we're teaching people how to operate it, right? We're giving them the tricks on rent collection, on maintenance coordination, on inspections. You go to rentestaterevolution.com, and you get free forms, free inspection forms, and downloads, and guidebooks, and all this stuff. And some of the people in my business, from our operations team, our sales team, are like, why the heck are we giving away all this information? Because I know you got to give, right? We love to give away stuff first. And ultimately, people are going to get in here and say, great, I'm going to buy one. But if I want to buy another one, I probably need a good partner helping me manage this property and hopefully come back to Renter's Warehouse. So we're excited to be giving away our secrets of how we're managing properties inside the book. But again, the book really talks about that journey of let's buy one, but let's end up with 10, right? And what that looks like for someone who started at the age of 30 or started at the age of 40 and has these homes paid off, or some of them paid off, and the cash flowing at retirement, and what that looks like. So that's why I wrote the book. You can see I'm real passionate about it, planning for retirement future, retirement savings, and how to do it.
Yeah, I was actually really impressed. I mean, I first off, I appreciate your candor in saying how one of the main drivers was the self-serving of, promoting Renter's Warehouse. But within that, though, you really did pull back their curtain. I mean, there's checklists in there, just in the book, never mind all the extra free resources you give away online. Just all the information you gave away there. Because I've been a landlord for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years now. By no means am I a good, I think I'm a good landlord. I personally am a horrible property manager. But I think maybe that's why I'm too good of a landlord, right? Too nice. But, even after all that and all the different ways to tenants have taken advantage of me, and I, learned from all those costly mistakes. Still tons of tips and tricks in there that I thought were awesome. So even somebody who's done it themselves and been in the trenches, there's tons of great stuff to pick up on and learn from. But then also it's geared towards, I think, somebody who doesn't invest in real estate, right? Somebody who may not necessarily be on this call, who has a background or an interest in real estate, but just someone off the street who says, oh, what's this? Maybe I'm interested. You cover a lot of the bases, kind of start from square one, why you should invest in real estate and why now is still such a great time, all the way up to, hey, you own the property, you've got a couple, here's the tips and tricks on different things, here's how to deal with tenants. Such an important skill. Several different skills you touch on in there. So it's really interesting. And then I think at the end, you literally start spelling out how to take action, right? What are the steps you need to take to actually make this work?
Right. Well, it goes back to what we talked about earlier in our conversation. Is you just got to get started, right? You can research forever. You can have the right books. Hopefully, you get the Real Estate Revolution. But you gotta go, right? You got to do it. You got to find a deal and just decide, I'm going to do this. And it's scary, but it becomes less scary after you get that first one done. You realize that it wasn't so hard, right? But again, it's because hopefully people listening or those that we're in reach of are going to have the right team, the right partners, the right things in place from the get-go, so they're not trying to make it up as they go.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Such an important point. So, Kevin, where can they find the book if they're interested?
Yeah, so it's on Amazon, Real Estate Revolution. You can go to the Renters Warehouse website. I'm sure there's a link there for it somewhere. But otherwise, we have a book website. It's Rent Estate. So just like real estate, but instead of real, it's rent. Rent Estate, revolution.com. There you can sign up to get the book, download the ebook, that kind of stuff. But actually, for those attending the seminar today, I'm happy to give away a copy of the book for those who took a little time out of their evening, came to listen to you and I. Again, this is about giving out resources. It's about spreading the word of long-term real estate. So what you have to do is tonight or tomorrow, I think we're going to put this online for the long term, so people who didn't come and watch and they're going to miss out on this. But people who are here live, if you shoot me an email before tomorrow, end of day sometime, with your name and mailing address where you want me to send the book, we're going to send you a free copy from Renters Warehouse of the book. But if you want to get more copies for your friends or for your business partners, anybody, it's on Amazon and Rent Estate Revolution. That's a great resource site, by the way. Go to rentestaterevolution.com. You can sign up there to get our ongoing weekly emails. We're doing great short content video clips around a theme in the book. So those are coming out weekly, as well as access all of our free resources on there. There's hundreds of different free resources, from, like we talked about, move-in inspection forms to rent collection processes to you name it. It's there. And so you can check that out. That's probably the best place to go.
Great. So you mentioned...
I suppose if they're going to email me, they're going to need to know my email address. So,
exactly.
Again, if you want a free copy of the book before the end of the day tomorrow, which would be Wednesday, shoot me an email. It's Kevin, K-E-V-I-N, at renterswarehouse.com. Kevin at renterswarehouse.com. If you forget or whatever, I'm sure Justin can get you the information as well. But happy to do that, and we're excited to send it out to those who attended with us tonight.
That's fantastic. I can't believe the CEO of Renters Warehouse just gave out his personal email address. I would have thought it would be like a info at or a book at, but no, it's
hey,
right to the man right there. I love it.
Happy to. So it was Gary Vaynerchuk, if you know Gary V and any of his books, right? In his first book he wrote, he put his email address in there. I don't know if you know this, but it was one of the things. If you don't believe me, email me. I'll talk to you about it later. Put his email address in there. He said it was the biggest regret he has because now it's like a book. It's a bestseller, right? It's a New York Times best-selling book, and people email him all the time. I'm sure at this point he's got a new email address. But he said big strategic mistake. So I'm not that popular. Maybe I'll regret it one day. But for clients at Pine Financial, clients at Renters Warehouse, of course, always happy to hear from them. So shoot me an email anytime, especially for your free copy of the book.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's huge. Thank you, Kevin. Well, so I think we're winding down here. We're getting close to the end of our hour together. So a couple quick hitter questions here, if you're ready. And even if you're not, I'm going to fire them at you. So
okay, great. I'm ready.
What is the best advice you've ever received?
Man, that's a hard one, but we're supposed to answer them quick. So I think the best...
No, so my questions are quick. You can take as long as you want.
Well, I think the best piece of advice I ever received was invest in yourself, right? We just talked about having a retirement plan, a savings plan, buying homes for retirement. But not only should you pay yourself first, as they say, to save money, right? I think you need to invest in yourself. And so set aside a certain amount of your income for personal development, professional development, especially in this space where there's so much opportunity to go to conventions or consume content or learn or buy a great book like Real Estate Revolution. Set aside, say, this year I'm going to put aside 5% of my income, 10% of my income for personal development, professional development seminars. I've been doing that for the last 3 or 4 years. That's dramatically changed my life and on how productive I can be, on the type of people I'm able to meet, network with, and connect with. That's been huge. So I think that's game-changing advice for me that I think everybody should do. Invest in yourself, invest in your development. It pays dividends beyond anything else.
I love it. I love it. And it can be so easy and cheap to do that. I mean, for the price of a book, I don't know, $15, $20, $25, you just got all the information from the CEO of Renters Warehouse, right? The nation's largest property manager. So pick up the book, tons of great information in there. As you just drive to and from work or to and from different properties, listen to podcasts and audiobooks. So much information out there. Invest in yourself. That's awesome advice. Can you share one of your personal habits that you believe contributes to your success?
Oh, man, I'm the king of bad habits. So I spend most of my time trying to break my bad habits and implement good habits, right? But I think probably the best habits that contribute to my success go back to what I just talked about, which is personal development, self-development. You just mentioned it. My car doesn't run, whether it's on the way to work or across town or to a project or to a meeting, without, obviously it needs fuel, but it also needs some sort of development material playing in the CD player. So I don't listen to the radio much. I'm not really a music guy. I just love filling my brain with whatever people want to be talking about. So it's a podcast I'm interested in or like, or a topic I'm studying, or in my case, trying to grow business, leadership, other business development tools, things like that. So I listen to a ton of that. I think that's a habit that's, again, done really well for me. And I heard somewhere, I don't remember where it was or who said it, and it probably doesn't matter, but in the amount of time the average American spends in a car every year, after it was like 18 months or 24 months or something, if you just take that time and listen to educational material, you could have the equivalent of a master's degree, right? So think of that, in 18 months, just in your spare time, driving your car around town, listening to something that interests you want to get better at, you could essentially earn a master's degree in that or get the same amount of content and knowledge out of that just by driving your car. So that's certainly a habit that I've picked up over the last couple of years that I've been embracing quite a bit. And frankly, to be honest, everything else I do is just very bad habits that I'm trying to break. So I don't have a lot of really good ones to talk about for you.
Well, let's talk about that, if you don't mind. How do you break yourself of these bad habits? Like, do you have a certain process, or how do you even catch yourself?
Yeah, one at a time. I think some people try to do too much stuff. Right there. I'm going to change everything. The beginning of the year, New Year's resolutions. I hate New Year's resolutions. I don't do them. I'm more of a kind of consistent, slow change guy. So I think taking one change, like I want to get up. This is actually true. I've been trying to get up earlier in the morning for like 10 years, and I'm still not getting up early in the morning. But that's an example of something I'd like to do, and just decide I'm going to dedicate to changing that piece this week, or this week or this month, and do those things. It takes 3 weeks to break a habit or change a habit, they say, right? Research shows, and it becomes a little easier after 3 consecutive weeks. So if you think about that, there's 52 weeks in a year, 3 weeks to change a habit. I mean, that's, 12, 14, quick math, 16 things you could change over the course of a year by doing one at a time over 3 weeks. So I think you got to do it slow and just have the willpower and the discipline to do it. But also, I've found for me, tracking really works well. So if I want to change something or ensure I'm doing something every day, tracking that I did it that day, planning for it. If you want to save money, track everything you're spending money on, right? And all of a sudden you're like, man, I didn't need to buy that 99-cent Snickers bar or this or that. It all adds up, or the coffee or whatever it is. And you want to save money to buy a property, buy a real estate property, start tracking your spending. You're going to find out real quick where you can cut. So I think between tracking and just taking it slow one at a time is probably how I break habits. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, that kind of leads into my next question here. Maybe. So do you have an internet resource, maybe like Dropbox or something like that you were in love with that you would want to share? And maybe it's a habit tracking something?
I do. Yes, absolutely do. It's called SaneBox, right?
How do you spell that?
So SANE box, Sendbox.com. It's the world's greatest email time saver ever, right? So it helps sort and organize emails that come in. If you get a bunch of stuff, that it learns your habits. And so if you get a bunch of stuff you don't read right away, but you eventually read later, it'll put in what's called the same later folder, so it doesn't clog up your inbox. It happens automatically. You can train things. You can say, no, I want this to go in the same later. You can drag it over there and bring it in there. If you don't want it to go in there, you can drag it back. It learns that too. But amazing utility, amazing application. They have it overlays over. I'm a Google Apps company, so it overlays over Gmail. I think it does for Microsoft accounts as well. It's free. I believe it's free. If you want some advanced features, it's maybe $5 or $10 a month. I paid for the pro version, but game changing. I've been using it for a couple of years. Awesome.
Okay, so where exactly do my emails fall in that same box?
Your emails go into my inbox every time, right at the top.
I'm sure.
Or, there's probably several emails I owe you, and this is where Sanebox comes into play. You can actually email someone with Sanebox. It's just in your normal app, email it, but in the BCC category, there's a code you write or an email you write, like Sanebox, that's what it is. You put a day and a time at sanebox.com, and it'll actually, if you haven't had a response to that email, by whatever time you tell it, so today's Tuesday, say Friday at noon, if you want to make sure you heard back from someone, you email them in the CC or the BCC line, you put Friday, 12 o'clock at sanebox.com. It'll pop back in your inbox and remind you to reach back out to them. Super cool. I've never used that feature, but I've heard about it, and it was really kind of cool and intriguing when I brought it up. So something you should get, because I know I oftentimes ignore your emails. And you send me Sanebox, that won't happen anymore.
Yeah, I've seen some different programs that do that type of stuff, and it's a great way to just keep your inbox clean, right? You take something, you address it, but you need to follow up or do something with it or address it later. Yep. You send it to that, and then you can clear it out of your inbox to keep it as clean as you like. And then at the time you want it to, it pop back up, be it a week, a certain day, or whatever it is down the road. So yeah, that can be such a great resource.
Absolutely.
So what do you use to track your habits? Do you just have a spreadsheet? Do you do sticky notes? Do you have something on your phone?
So I'm not a paid spokesman here, so I've been trying to avoid talking about this particular gentleman, but who got me, my mentor, who got me on my personal development, professional development track, and my staff who watches this is going to laugh. For anyone who knows me who's watching this is going to laugh because they're so annoyed about this. But his name is Darren Hardy, right? He's a success mentor. You may have heard of him, you may not have, but Darren Hardy, I'm a huge fan of. He's a mentor of mine.
Success Magazine, right?
Published Success Magazine. Former. He actually is now just kind of doing his own thing, but he has a couple different programs. A couple of his books. One of his books is called The Compound Effect, Game Changing. I'm listening to the audio right now. But he has a program. It's on my desk right here called Living Your Best Year Ever. And in there, it has weekly trackers or weekly goals. It's just a fantastic program. Again, not a paid spokesman, but I love it. Game changing. So again, it goes to tracking, right? And that's a couple different ways. A friend of mine, this shows how much of a nerd I am, but a friend of mine just got me another journal. It's called the Best Self Journal. And I just started using this, and this is actually a daily one where you can put in your daily schedule and notes and goals for the day, and it takes it down to the day level. That's been really cool. I started using that. So I have to have systems like this or my day gets totally away from me. I've learned, right? So I started using this stuff best year ever for a while, but this daily piece just a couple weeks ago, actually, and it's been life-changing. You know what happens? We're all busy. You come into the office or you go to work at 9, the next thing you know it's 5, and what the heck did I accomplish, right?
Absolutely.
If I don't stay disciplined to the hour, that's tough. So, I journal a lot of stuff. I use these. I'm old school, clearly. I've got 2 different books sitting on my desk. I've tried some of the electronic ways to do it, and I just can't, it doesn't work as well for me, so I just can't get into it.
Gotcha. I'm kind of the same way. I love the feel of paper in your hand, right? Whether it be a book or whatever it is. I mean, you send me a long email, I'll probably print it out. And then, which probably isn't great, but, so looking back.
I do the same thing. I drive my former assistant nuts because she was very much a e-document thing, right? Don't waste paper, the whole program. And I print everything. If I'm going to redline a contract, I print it first and go through it, and then I usually have to have someone or myself go back and actually redline the document and send it back. Cause I do better when I'm reading it, when I'm touching it, when I'm feeling it. So I print everything, and my office is a mess of papers. But that's how I am. So anybody who's big on the environment and saving paper, I'm sorry, but I print a lot.
Exactly. Well, if you shred it and recycle it, that helps, I guess, right?
We
But
recycle.
the same
We
way.
recycle. We recycle, and I write on the back of it if I need to for notes. So, but so I'm a big paper guy. So.
Gotcha. So looking back, what advice would you give yourself when you were just starting out?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question. Man, I don't know. I think I wouldn't change a lot, Justin. I've obviously had some good times, had plenty of bad times too, but I think those trials and tribulations you go through help shape where you end up, or kind of the school of hard knocks. I'm a big fan of school of hard knocks. I hate it when I'm being knocked, but afterwards, that's the best education, right? And so, man, I don't know. I think the best advice I could give myself looking back is maybe get started sooner. Start taking those, what I thought were big risks or calculated risks sooner. I joke a lot with you in this conversation. We talked about it at other conventions and things like that you just got to do it. You got to get started. You got to go, right? I was the same person. Like, granted, I bought my first place I was 18, right? But I was going to live in it, and it wasn't really just a rental. But it took me a long time between then and when I got my next place, right? I wish I would kind of got the ball rolling sooner. I wish I had. Here's one. Now that I talked myself into it, I think also just getting ingrained in a great group of people, a great team, a great network early on, right? I'm just in the last 3 or 4 or 5 years have learned so much with the network at Pine. I go to a lot of the monthly events you guys have here in Minneapolis at Grumpy's, right? Go there, great people, great resources, learn a ton of stuff. That's how I found out about your guys' rehab program to buy it, and I ended up doing the best deal of my life out of that. And so, I didn't get into that soon enough. I was too busy. I didn't want to go, or frankly, I'm an introvert, which surprises most people. So I'm always like, I don't want to go and hang out with a bunch of people, right? I love people, but it takes energy for me to do that, where I get energy back from my thinking time, my alone time, right? Where extroverts go into a group of people and they get all their energy from that. So I think that would probably be my advice. There we go. We figured it out. Going back 15 years to me starting over would definitely be about, hey, put yourself out there a little bit more early on, get that network, get that team, get those resources built up, because it's game-changing. You start sharing people's knowledge and learning from people, it's huge.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more with that. I think that's some great advice. So what is one book you might recommend to our listeners other than your own? Feel free and wave it around, but let's see. What does it look like? Do you have a copy of it there?
I do, yeah. So let's see. Here's the best book you can buy if you're
there it is.
Revolution. Remember, fortunate people who are watching tonight get a personal copy. But great book. Even if you get a free one, buy one for your friends and family, right? And review it on Amazon. That'd be fantastic for us. But that book, obviously, great book for real estate. Did you ask for real estate specific books or just books?
No, not necessarily.
Books in general. Another Darren Hardy plug. I already said it, but the Compound Effect is literally a book that changed my life. So that is definitely, when I get asked this book list thing, what books are there? That's big. If you're running a business, you're growing a small business, which even if you're just starting to grow a rental portfolio, that's becoming a business for you, or a rehab business. Great book out there by Gino Wickman called Traction. Really talks about it's the entrepreneurial operating system, how to operate an entrepreneurial business. So that's real big. That's a great book. Traction is another one. The Entrepreneur Roller Coaster, again, by Darren Hardy, a fan favorite of mine. That's all the kind of the real life stuff. I'm also a big fan of getting into some fiction once in a while. One of my favorite fiction books out there is Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand, 1950s book. It's about this thick, so be prepared, right? That's a good book. So that's probably my top 4 and 5 with the Rent Estate Revolution there.
That's perfect. Well, Kevin, I've truly enjoyed listening to your journey, and the stories you've shared were inspiring. Give us one parting piece of guidance. Share the best way we can get a hold of you again, and then we'll say goodbye.
Okay, best parting piece of knowledge. I've said it 4 times today, but just get started. You know, you're watching this to do deals, right? You're looking at getting into real estate or rent estate, flipping, rehabbing, whatever it is. Do a deal. Jump in, get it done. You got to do it. That's the advice I gave myself 15 years ago. We figured out through this journey together here, Justin. So that's the advice I'm going to leave everybody with. Contact info for me and the company, renterswarehouse.com is our business website. rentestaterevolution.com is the book website. And I already gave everybody my email address, which you told me may be a mistake, so we'll skip that one. But you know, on the website, you're going to find all the information. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm a big LinkedIn guy. I'm not a big social media guy outside of that, although I'm being told I need to be more. But you know, LinkedIn, you can check me up there. I do have a Twitter account, and that's just Kevin Ortner for my Twitter handle, and you'll find me on LinkedIn. So that's how to contact me. I'd love to interact with anybody in the audience today and help anyone down this journey of real estate investing, and any advice I can give for whatever it's worth, I'm happy to do.
Perfect. Well, Kevin, thanks for being so generous with your time, your expertise, and your experiences, and we will talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you, Justin.
Thanks, Kevin. Bye.
Bye.